Maranello, September 1979. A letter arrived at Enzo Ferrari's office. Airmail from New York. Familiar handwriting on the envelope. Ferrari recognized it before opening. Luigi Chinetti. After 12 years of silence. He opened it slowly. Read the first line. Enzo, I'm writing to apologize. Ferrari stopped reading. Put the letter down. Stared at it for a long time. Then picked up his pen and wrote a single sentence in the margin. Some things cannot be forgiven. Not because I don't want to. Because I can't. He never sent a reply. This is the story of the apology Ferrari couldn't accept. And why refusing forgiveness sometimes says more about love than granting it ever could. Luigi Chinetti was not just Ferrari's American distributor. He was Ferrari's American dream. They met in 1947. Ferrari was building cars in a bombed-out factory in Maranello. War had ended. Money was scarce. Future was uncertain. Chinetti was a racing driver. Italian-born, American-made. Wealthy clients. Connections in New York, California, everywhere that mattered. He saw Ferrari's cars and understood something others missed. Americans didn't want practical. They wanted passion. And Ferrari's cars were pure passion. Let me sell them in America, Chinetti said. You can't afford them, Ferrari replied. I don't need to afford them. I just need to make other people want them. Ferrari looked at this confident Italian-American with his expensive suit and American optimism. Take 3 cars, Ferrari said. If you sell them, take 3 more. Chinetti sold all 3 in 2 months. For the next 20 years, Chinetti built Ferrari's American empire. Every car sold in the United States went through him. Every wealthy American who wanted a Ferrari came to his showroom in New York. More than that, Chinetti raced Ferrari's cars. Won Le Mans 3 times. Brought credibility. Brought attention. Brought Americans to Maranello to meet Ferrari and order custom cars. By 1960, America was Ferrari's largest market, and Chinetti was the reason. Ferrari trusted him. Not easily. Not completely. But more than most. They had an understanding. Chinetti handled America. Ferrari handled everything else. No contracts. No paperwork. Just a handshake and mutual respect. For 20 years it worked perfectly. Then it didn't. The problem started in 1965. Ferrari was struggling financially. Racing costs were climbing, production costs rising, competition from British manufacturers intensifying. Ford had offered to buy Ferrari in 1963. Ferrari refused. Walked away from $18 million. But by 1965 he needed money. Badly. He approached Fiat. Italian company. Better philosophical fit than Ford. Negotiations were delicate. Secret. Chinetti heard rumors. Called Ferrari. Is it true? Chinetti asked. Are you selling to Fiat? Discussing options. Ferrari said carefully. What about me? What about you? I've been building your American business for 20 years, Chinetti said. I should be involved in this conversation. This is European business, Ferrari said. You handle America. America is half your revenue. This affects me. It affects the company, Ferrari corrected. Not you personally. There was a long pause. Enzo, Chinetti said quietly. I'm not just your distributor. I'm your partner. You're my American representative, Ferrari said. There's a difference. Another pause. Longer. I see, Chinetti said. I misunderstood our relationship. Perhaps you did, Ferrari agreed. The conversation ended shortly after. Polite, professional, finished. But something had broken. Something that handshakes and 20 years of success had built. Chinetti didn't call again. Kept distributing Ferrari cars. Kept managing the American operation. But the warmth disappeared. The friendship, whatever had existed, cooled to pure business. Ferrari noticed. Didn't reach out. In 1967, Chinetti made a decision. Started his own racing team. NART, North American Racing Team. Using Ferrari cars, but independent. His own team. His own drivers. His own decisions. Ferrari approved it. Gave Chinetti cars at reduced prices. Seemed supportive. But privately, Ferrari told his team manager, Luigi thinks he's a racing team owner now. Let him learn what that costs. The comment reached Chinetti. Through industry gossip. Through mechanics who talked. Chinetti called Ferrari. First time in months. Did you say I don't know what racing costs? Chinetti asked. I don't recall the exact words, Ferrari said. But the sentiment. Ferrari was quiet for a moment. Luigi, you're a distributor. A businessman. Racing teams require different skills. I've won Le Mans 3 times. As a driver, Ferrari said. Not as a team owner. There's a difference. You're saying I'll fail. I'm saying it's harder than you think. You could support me, Chinetti said. Instead of doubting me, I am supporting you, Ferrari replied. I'm selling you cars. That's business. I'm talking about friendship. So am I, Ferrari said quietly. Friends tell each other the truth. Your truth, Chinetti said, sounds a lot like condescension. And your ambition, Ferrari replied, sounds a lot like pride. The call ended badly. Again. Nart raced through the late 1960s and into the 1970s. Had successes, some failures. Respectable operation. Not dominant but solid. Chinetti proved Ferrari wrong. Mostly. But the relationship never recovered. They spoke occasionally. Always business. Never personal. The ease that had existed for 20 years evaporated. In 1969, Fiat bought 50% of Ferrari. Ferrari stayed on as racing director. Kept control of the team. But the company was no longer entirely his. Chinetti read about it in the newspaper. Ferrari never called to tell him directly. Chinetti sent a brief telegram. Congratulations on the Fiat deal. Let's see. Ferrari never responded. 2 years later in 1971, another disagreement. This time about car allocations. American demand for Ferraris was exploding. Chinetti couldn't get enough cars. Customers were waiting months. Some buying from European dealers and shipping to America. Bypassing Chinetti entirely. Chinetti called Ferrari. Explained the problem. Asked for more cars. The factory can only produce so many. Ferrari said. Then give me priority. I built your American market. The market belongs to Ferrari. Ferrari said. Not to you. I created it. You distributed cars I designed. There's a difference. Enzo, Chinetti said, voice rising. I've been loyal to you for 25 years. I'm asking for fair treatment. And I'm giving it. Ferrari said. Fair means equal allocation, not preferential. Equal. Chinetti laughed bitterly. European dealers get cars immediately. I wait 3 months. European dealers are closer to the factory. Shipping is simpler. This isn't about shipping. This is about respect. Respect is earned, Ferrari said, not demanded. The conversation ended with Chinetti slamming the phone down. They didn't speak again for months. Business continued. Cars shipped. Money exchanged. But the relationship was now purely transactional. People in the industry noticed, asked questions, rumors spread. Chinetti and Ferrari had a falling out. What about? No one knows. Pride probably. 2 Italian men who couldn't admit they needed each other. In 1976, Chinetti retired from active involvement in Nart, handed operations to his son, stayed on as advisor but stepped back from day-to-day work. He was 75 years old, tired, wanted to slow down. Around this time he started thinking about his legacy, what he'd built, what he'd lost, and he realized something. His proudest achievement, building Ferrari's American empire, was tainted by how it ended. He thought about calling Ferrari, apologizing, clearing the air before it was too late. But pride stopped him. For 3 years. In September 1979, Chinetti finally wrote the letter. It took him 2 weeks to write. Multiple drafts, trying to find the right words. The final version was 3 pages, handwritten, honest. It began. Enzo, I'm writing to apologize. Not for everything. We both made mistakes, but for my part, for letting pride damage something that mattered more than business. The letter continued. I've spent 30 years helping build your name in America. I'm proud of that. But I'm not proud of how things ended between us. The arguments, the bitterness, the silence. You once told me friendship means telling the truth. So here's my truth. I was hurt when you didn't include me in the Fiat discussions. I felt dismissed, like 20 years of partnership meant nothing. But I responded poorly, turned competitive when I should have been supportive, made our relationship about ego when it should have been about mutual respect. I don't expect us to become close again. Too much time, too much pride, mine and yours. But I wanted you to know, I regret how it ended, and if I could change it, I would. We built something together. Ferrari in America wouldn't exist without both of us. I hope you remember that. I hope it matters. Your old friend Luigi. He mailed it from New York. Waited for a response. Weeks passed. Nothing. A month. Still nothing. Chinetti assumed Ferrari hadn't received it. Or had received it and thrown it away. He didn't know Ferrari had read it multiple times and written that single sentence in the margin. Some things cannot be forgiven. Not because I don't want to, because I can't. Ferrari put the letter in his desk drawer. The same drawer where he'd kept other letters. The unopened one from 1961. Contracts from drivers long gone. Artifacts of relationships that had mattered once. His secretary, Maria, saw the letter while organizing files. Did you respond to Signor Chinetti? She asked. No, Ferrari said. He's apologizing. After all these years, I know what he's doing. Don't you want to accept it? Make peace? Ferrari looked at her. Do you know what Luigi's apology tells me? That he regrets the falling out? No, Ferrari said. It tells me he's old and scared and wants absolution before he dies. But apologies aren't about absolution. They're about acknowledging harm. And Luigi's apology doesn't acknowledge what actually hurt. What hurt? Maria asked. Ferrari was quiet for a moment. He apologized for being competitive, for responding poorly to the Fiat situation. But he never apologized for the fundamental betrayal. What betrayal? Thinking our relationship was about equality, Ferrari said. Thinking that 20 years of business made him my partner. I don't have partners. I have employees. I have contractors. I have people who work for me, but not partners. And Luigi never understood that. Is that really a betrayal? Maria asked carefully. Yes, Ferrari said flatly. Because I never promised partnership, never suggested it. He assumed it, then felt betrayed when reality didn't match his assumption. That's not my failure. That's his. Maria didn't respond. But she understood. Ferrari wasn't rejecting the apology because he was cruel. He was rejecting
rejecting it because accepting would validate Chinetti's version of their relationship, and Ferrari couldn't do that, even to make peace. Should I at least acknowledge receipt? Maria asked. So he knows you read it. No, Ferrari said. Silence is my response. It says everything that needs saying, which is, that his apology changes nothing. We had a business arrangement. It ended. That's the truth. His apology wants to rewrite history, make it about friendship that was lost. But there was no friendship, just mutual benefit that ran its course. That's harsh, Maria said quietly. Yes, Ferrari agreed. But it's honest, and honesty is kinder than false forgiveness. Chinetti never heard from Ferrari. At first he thought the letter got lost, considered writing again. Then he realized Ferrari received it, read it, chose not to respond. Chinetti told his son, I tried. He won't forgive me. Why not? His son asked. Because forgiveness would require him to admit we were friends, and Ferrari doesn't admit friendship. It's a vulnerability he won't allow. So you just live with this? Chinetti smiled sadly. I lived with it for 12 years already. I can live with it a bit longer. But it bothered him, more than he admitted. In 1980, Chinetti's health began declining. Heart problems. Age catching up. He mentioned Ferrari occasionally, to his wife, to old racing friends. I wish I'd handled it differently, he'd say. The whole thing. I wish I'd understood Enzo better. Did he understand you? Someone asked. Better than I understood him, Chinetti admitted. He knew what he wanted from our relationship. I wanted something he never offered. That's on me. In early 1988, Chinetti was hospitalized. Serious heart issues. Doctors weren't optimistic. His son asked if he wanted to try contacting Ferrari again. No, Chinetti said. I said what I needed to say 9 years ago. If that wasn't enough, nothing will be. Do you forgive him? His son asked. For not forgiving you? Chinetti thought about it. Yes, because I understand now. Enzo doesn't forgive people who change the terms of the relationship. I tried to make us equals. We never were. I should have accepted that. That seems unfair. Maybe, Chinetti said, but it was honest. And in the end, I'd rather have honest unfairness than dishonest equality. Chinetti died in August 1988. Enzo Ferrari died 2 weeks later. August 14, 1988. At Ferrari's funeral, someone mentioned Chinetti. They had a falling out, didn't they? Someone asked. 20 years ago, another person confirmed. Did they ever reconcile? No. Chinetti tried. Ferrari refused. Why? Because Ferrari believed some relationships end for reasons that apologies can't fix. And he refused to pretend otherwise. Years after both men died, Chinetti's son found correspondence in his father's files. Letters, telegrams, business documents from the 1950s and 60s. One letter stood out, from Ferrari to Chinetti, 1962, middle of their golden period. It read, Luigi, the American success is significant. You have contributed substantially. But remember, you sell my cars. You do not build them. This distinction matters. Respect it, and we continue successfully. Forget it, and we don't. E.F. Chinetti's son showed it to a historian researching Ferrari's life. Did your father understand this? The historian asked. I don't think so, the son said. Or he understood it intellectually but couldn't accept it emotionally. He wanted more from Ferrari than Ferrari was willing to give. Do you think Ferrari was wrong to refuse his apology? The son thought about it. No, because accepting would have been a lie. My father wanted Ferrari to say, we were friends. We had a misunderstanding. Let's move past it. But Ferrari's truth was, we were never friends. We had a business arrangement that worked until you wanted more than I offered. And that truth, harsh as it is, was more respectful than a false reconciliation. How so? Because it didn't patronize my father. Didn't pretend. Just stated reality. My father could accept that reality or not, but he couldn't make Ferrari lie about it. The historian included this in his book about Ferrari, the chapter about relationships Ferrari couldn't maintain. But he noted something else too. Ferrari kept Chinetti's letter for 9 years. Until he died. It was in the desk drawer. With the other significant letters, the ones that mattered enough to keep but not enough to answer. What does that say? The historian wrote. That Ferrari kept a letter he never responded to. Perhaps it says forgiveness isn't binary. Perhaps Ferrari couldn't accept the apology, couldn't validate Chinetti's version of their relationship, but also couldn't discard it entirely. So he kept it, carried it. Let it sit in a drawer as a reminder that some apologies arrive too late, or in the wrong shape, or ask for something that can't be given. And keeping it was Ferrari's way of honoring what Chinetti tried to do, even while refusing to do what Chinetti wanted. In 2003, Ferrari's former secretary, Maria, gave an interview. She was asked about Ferrari's personal relationships. He had very few, she said. By choice. He kept people at a specific distance, close enough to be useful, far enough to stay safe. Did anyone break through that distance? Some tried. Luigi Chinetti tried, but Ferrari wouldn't allow it. When Luigi apologized, years after their falling out, Ferrari refused to engage. Not out of cruelty, out of honesty. He couldn't forgive what Luigi thought needed forgiving, because Ferrari didn't believe their relationship had been what Luigi thought it was. Did Ferrari regret that? Maria thought carefully. I think he regretted that it bothered him, that Chinetti's letter sat in his drawer, that he thought about it. Because if he truly didn't care, he would have thrown it away. But he kept it, which means some part of him, small, hidden, never acknowledged, wished things had been different. Wished he could have been the friend Luigi wanted, but wishing didn't change what he was capable of. So he kept the letter, and lived with the discomfort. Is that sad? Deeply, Maria said, but also honest. And for Ferrari, honesty was more important than comfort, even when it cost him relationships. Even when it left him alone. In Ferrari's will, discovered after his death, there was a strange provision. A list of personal items to be preserved. Letters, photographs, documents. Chinetti's 1979 letter was on the list, labeled, LC Apology, 1979. Keep with other unanswered correspondence. The estate lawyer asked Maria about it. Why would he specify this be kept? The lawyer asked. Because it mattered, Maria said. Not enough to answer, but enough to preserve. Why? Because, Maria said, Ferrari understood something most people don't, that refusing forgiveness is a relationship too. It's not absence, it's a specific kind of presence. It says, I heard you. I considered it, and I'm choosing to let this remain unresolved. That's not indifference, that's a decision. And Ferrari wanted that decision documented. That's remarkably cold, or remarkably honest, Maria countered. Ferrari didn't forgive Chinetti because forgiving would have required lying about what their relationship was, and he valued truth more than reconciliation. You can call that cold, or you can call it integrity. The letter sits now in Ferrari's archives, in Maranello. Available to researchers. People read it. Chinetti's apology, sincere, vulnerable, unanswered, and Ferrari's marginal note, one sentence, never sent, but preserved. Some things cannot be forgiven, not because I don't want to, because I can't. Historians debate what that means. Some say it's Ferrari admitting emotional limitation, that he wanted to forgive but couldn't. Others say it's Ferrari stating philosophical principle, that some betrayals, even unintentional ones, change relationships permanently. But perhaps it's simpler. Perhaps Ferrari meant, I can't forgive you for misunderstanding who we were to each other. Because forgiving that would mean accepting your version of our relationship. And I can't do that. Not because I'm stubborn, but because truth matters more than peace. And if peace requires lies, Ferrari would choose truth and loneliness every time. In 2019, Ferrari held an event honoring Luigi Chinetti, 70th anniversary of his first Ferrari sale in America. They displayed his racing trophies, his business correspondence, photographs from the 1950s. Someone asked, should we mention the falling out? The museum director thought about it. Yes, because pretending they stayed friends until the end would dishonor both of them. Chinetti tried to apologize. Ferrari refused. That's part of the story. The uncomfortable part. But the true part. At the event, Chinetti's grandson spoke. My grandfather built Ferrari's American empire, he said. But he also learned a hard lesson. You can't make someone see you as a friend if they see you as an employee. And my grandfather tried for 20 years to change Ferrari's perception, failed, then apologized. And even that wasn't enough. Because the apology asked for something Ferrari couldn't give. Validation of a friendship that never existed. Does that make Ferrari cruel? The grandson continued. I used to think so. But now I think it makes him honest in a way most of us can't manage. He couldn't forgive my grandfather because forgiving meant lying. And Ferrari wouldn't lie. Not even to make an old man feel better. Not even to ease his own guilt. He just told the truth. And lived with being seen as cold because of it. The audience was quiet. Then the grandson added, I don't know if that's admirable or tragic. Maybe both. But it's who Ferrari was. And my grandfather, in the end, understood that. Which is why I think he never wrote a second apology. He said what he needed to say. Ferrari responded with silence. And that silence was its own kind of answer. Not the answer my grandfather wanted, but an honest one. And maybe that's the best anyone could hope for from Enzo Ferrari. The event ended with a photograph projected on the wall. Ferrari and Chinetti, smiling, before everything went wrong. Before misunderstood relationships. Before pride and hurt feelings. Before unanswered apologies. Just two men who built something together and didn't yet know it couldn't last. Someone at the event said, they look happy. They were, the grandson replied, for a while. Before my grandfather wanted more than Ferrari could give. And before Ferrari convinced himself he'd never promised more than business. Who was right? Both, the grandson said. And neither. That's what makes it tragic. Have you ever refused to forgive someone not because you didn't want to, but because forgiving would require you to lie about what hurt? Have you ever been apologized to for the wrong thing?